Hello, hello. I'm Ian Elliott Van Segbrook with Arthur Newspaper. Today here with me we have Stephen Stohn, founder of Arthur and soon-to-be former Chancellor of Trent University. Thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you, Ian. And I will always be a chancellor. I just won't be the current chancellor. But when you come up to me on the street, you can say, "Oh, Chancellor Stohn." No, you won't. You'll say Stephen. But,
yeah. Interesting. So do you get to become like Chancellor Emeritus? Is there a new title?
I think so, yes. So it's sort of like, presidents of the United States remain president even long after they're president. That's unfortunate in the current case, but
yeah. Do you plan on abusing that power? Do you get to? Will you have your own security, your own?
The chancellor has raw power.
Raw power. Yeah.
Yes, very raw.
So I guess to begin, how does it feel stepping down from your position as chancellor? I know you're not stepping down yet, but it is fast approaching in June, I believe.
Yes, and it's bittersweet. 7 years I've been doing this, and it's a wonderful thing. I absolutely recommend, if you ever have the chance to become a chancellor, take it, do it. It's really fun because you're up there and everybody is very nice to you. And you get a chance to, interact with really interesting students and faculty and staff. And the days just flow by, and you can do a whole bunch of really cool things. And everybody, as I say, sort of doffs their cap at you and says, "Oh, hello, Stephen." Yeah.
What led to you staying on for an additional year? You had an extension in 2024, I believe?
Yes. Well, there was, normally it's a 3-year term. Yeah. So then there was another 3-year term. And then when Kathy was coming on board as president, she said, would you consider, hanging in for another year as a kind of transition? And I think they would have been happy if I carried on after this, and I would have been happy as well, but there comes a time when it's just really important to have change. And the new chancellor, when you meet her, Sabine, is fantastic. You will love her.
I hope to speak to her once she becomes inaugurated? Is that the term?
Yeah, she'll be...
ordained?
I think installed.
Installed.
It's sort of like putting a 57 Ford motor into it.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite memory from your time as a chancellor?
Oh, my Lord. I mean, there's so many good memories. I mean, I'll mention one thing, but really, the important thing about being a chancellor, in fact, the only thing you really have to do is giving out the degrees. And at Trent, we are so blessed, because it's a small university, that I get to be on stage and to have eye contact and talk directly with each student as they come across, shake their hands personally, have a little something to say. I mean, it may be something stupid to say, or maybe they'll make me do something stupid like dance or, make strange things with my fingers or whatever. And then they'll go on. But it's a personal experience. And each one of those is important. Each one of those, I know it sounds really trite to say that each one of those is a highlight, but it is. That's really why we do it. One thing that immediately comes to mind was early on, right after COVID, there was a guy named Bayo Akomolafe was giving a speech at Trent, and they asked, "Oh, Stephen, would you introduce him?" So I said, fine. And I read a couple of his books because I thought that would be polite to do before I met him. And then we had dinner with the students. And he gave a talk. He's a philosopher, I think born in Nigeria, living in India. And I didn't hear from him again for a couple of months. And I got this email saying, I really enjoyed that time at Trent University. And it's a time, of course, that never would have happened if I weren't a chancellor. And he said, I'm doing something a little bit out of the ordinary. I'm getting 12 people from completely different stations from all around the world to join me in a little house in India on the shore, just south of Chennai, on the shore of the ocean. And would you consider just coming over for a week and being with us? And I did it. And we slept on the floor. It was like I was 21 years old again. It was like I was back at university. And we did trust exercises. We meditated by the ocean. And we talked about, how to save the world. But it wasn't like 12 chancellors from coming around. One woman, fascinating, was from the slums in Rio and had her best friend was killed by the police during one of the riots. Another was from Sri Lanka. They were from people from all over the world, completely different stations of life. And for 1 week, I was back being 21 years old, with one exception. And that is, we had planned to visit the local Muslim community, which at the time was a bit under threat from the government. And so the leaders came and said, we don't think it's a good idea for you to come in, but we'll come over, and why don't we all cook lunch together? I'm not a very good. Are you a good cook?
You don't get this big without enjoying food.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not a good cook, but I learned how to cook, and the food in the south of India is fantastic. Anyway, we spent a couple of hours making the meal, and then everybody gathered around. There was about a dozen of them, a dozen of us, and we were in a circle, and we were welcoming each other and talking about this. And then the Muslim leader said, "And now our elder will say a grace." And so we all bowed our head, and nothing happened. And I looked up, and everybody was looking at me, and I realized, oh, I am the elder. And I managed to come up with something about, because I have no idea what was appropriate about the universality of coming together in community and things like that. And everybody, that seemed to get along well, and then we tucked in. But what a great experience that never would have happened if I hadn't A, been Chancellor, and B, said, sure, I'll introduce Bayo Kamalafe for dinner.
Yeah. So what was it that you guys spent your time doing while there? Was it discussing mostly? Was it travel? Was it?
Half of it was, there were trust exercises. I mean, not the one where, you fall backwards into somebody, thank God. But a lot of meditating and just talking about different ways of thinking about the world, which is a very Trent thing. I mean, it was entirely appropriate. And I still keep in touch with them to this day. It was... what a great experience.
Yeah. That is fascinating. And I've got a question for you that I should have asked at the beginning, actually. What is it exactly? What is a chancellor? What does a chancellor do? Okay.
No. It's a wonderful question. And I won't take as long to answer this question
please.
as I did to answer the first question. Really, all a chancellor needs to do, in North America in particular, and in other areas, the chancellor actually is a paid position, and is a position that has some power. But it's entirely an honorary position in North America, in most areas of North America. And you give out the degrees. And with the large universities, they can't even give out the degrees. I mean, there's just thousands and thousands of students at each convocation, and they can barely even get up on stage as the students go past. But at the smaller universities, you can give out the degrees. That's all that's expected of you. And of course, in my case, since I love Trent and was a student here and an ongoing alumnus and been involved ever since, it was a wonderful opportunity just to do whatever people wanted me to do.
How do you think Trent has changed over your tenureship?
There's one big change, and it's not that Trent has changed. Artificial intelligence. I mean, technology is changing everything in the world, and in the next few years, it's going to change it even more. And I like to say that Trent is needed more than ever, because the way Trent focuses on critical thinking, a liberal arts education, so interdisciplinary learning, the college system, trying to make it a personal experience, those are the things that create flexibility, adaptability of thinking, compassionate thinking. And those are the tools that we as a society are really going to need in the face of what will just be an absolute tsunami, a change that we cannot even imagine coming up in the next few years. So that has been, when I started, ChatGPT didn't even exist. Of course, now it's ubiquitous. And in a few years' time, it's going to reach the level of general intelligence, and we have no idea what's going to happen after then. Yeah. So that's the big change.
Interesting. I've got two questions leading off of that. First off, I know a lot of students have been concerned. They believe the university is kind of backing away from humanities as an institution Have you noticed that from your position as chancellor?
No, and it's not that I would be directly involved with that in any way. In fact, I think the spirit is to really embrace the humanities. I mean, the entire essence of the university is a liberal arts education, and the humanities are absolutely a part of that. I mean, I majored in a combination of philosophy and economics, and I think that's a perfect kind of Trent thing to do. What did you?
I am an English major. I applied on the last day because my mom told me I had to, and my top choices were anthropology, history, English, philosophy, and political science. And English had the most electives.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And no classes on Fridays?
Well, at this exact moment, I have no classes Monday or Friday.
That's the perfect education.
But that is actually just a coincidence and a facet of my job, because I had to drop down to 3 courses. But, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but that's a great Trent education, and it's a great education for what lies ahead, because we don't know what lies ahead. So you're doing your English, and then you're doing Arthur and other things. I mean, you're just learning a whole bunch of skills that will be useful. We don't know how they'll be useful.
I hope so.
Yeah, but they will be useful.
What do you think your legacy as chancellor will be? I mean, you are in a position that has been filled by premiers of Ontario and astronauts. What do you think you've added to the position?
It's an odd question. And from the very beginning, and it was Leo Groker who was the president, and he asked that same question, what would you like your legacy to be? And I'm like, legacy? I just want to get up on stage and not trip too much and do that. And so I haven't thought about that. It's not like leaving something. You just are what you are. And I hope that what I have been is, in some ways, a modern day embodiment of the Tom Simons, president, who started the university. And those ideals from back then, the liberal arts education that I think is so important. And if I've helped to make that stronger in the university, because I talk about it in practically every address I give, then that will be a great legacy. But it's not like having a Trump Tower or something like that. It's
no giant statue?
No.
Because I think there's some space, there's a few trees we could chop down. Right. Yeah. Will you continue to be involved with Trent once you step down from your position?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and what I've said to Sabine, the incoming chancellor, is I really feel that experience on the day of being at convocation and personally giving out the degrees is so important. But there's sometimes, I've been lucky, apart from COVID, I've been there at every single convocation. I've managed to do it, and touch wood, we'll be able to for all 16 convocations coming up in this June. But inevitably, I said, Sabine, there will come a time when something happens and you just can't do it. And they will say, oh, don't worry, Kathy will fill in or Julie will fill in. Don't you worry about it. And I said, no, don't listen to them. Call me. I'll go and put on my robes, because that will be important for the students to have a chancellor just there for that 15 seconds or 30 seconds to do that. So I want to be involved. And of course, I'm an alum of the university, so I'll be involved anyway whenever they want me, just not as much involved.
I forgot to ask you this one because we were doing some audio things. You said that you think AI has been the biggest change over your tenureship. I'm surprised by that. I thought you were going to say COVID. Do you think COVID was not as impactful?
I don't know. How much do you remember of COVID? I mean, we all have this sort of fog that there was a period of time, was it 18 months, was it 2 years, that didn't really exist, and it was very uncomfortable, and we were thinking, and we remember what happened before COVID, and we remember what happened after COVID, but it's like there's this gap in time.
Yeah, this may stun you. I was 16 when COVID began.
Oh, my Lord.
Sorry, I was 15, actually. It was a month before my birthday. And most of what I did was play video games and cheat on science assignments. I was very lucky to live in the countryside, and both my parents were self-employed, a veterinarian and a farmer.
Right, yeah.
So their jobs were not impacted very much at all. Aside from my mom wore a mask half the time anyway. My dad had some difficulties with like migrant labor and regulations around that. But aside from that, I mean, I remember when I came to university, it was actually stunning. I was talking with friends that like lived in the city, and they're like, yeah, it was genuinely awful. My mental health, my physical health was down the drain. I was like rat in a cage. It's like, man, I remember like just after the teacher taking attendance in grade 11, I don't even remember what, science something, I just went outside in my underwear on the quad bike and went and did practice shooting with a pellet gun because I was bored.
Yeah.
And it's like the experiences are so jarringly different. But I was very lucky.
Well, what we had to do here, of course, was convocation was done by Zoom, and but the other thing to try and turn a sow's ear into a silk purse was we did sort of like what we're doing right here, a whole series of, and they were done by Zoom or a Zoom-like platform, of interviews with professors and talking about COVID, of different aspects of COVID. And the Trent Talk series, it was a great way for me to meet all sorts of really interesting professors and others and to talk about subjects that were of interest. And so we just tried to do the best we could. And at convocation, I would do things like my famous moonwalk. I'm the worst moonwalker in the world. And whenever I do it, my wife just runs away and says, don't do that ever again. So I do it as often as I can. But yeah.
I have some questions for you about the Trent shoe that you are currently wearing at this very moment. What is the Trent shoe? What is your what is your passion towards Converse? Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
I have always, it's not necessarily a passion towards Converse, it's a passion towards comfort. And for years, I mean, back in the day when we would have, you'd go to the Emmys or you'd go to Canadian awards, or there were so many music awards, television awards, receptions that we'd go to. And we used to actually get dressed up in tuxedos and things. Now, you've probably never even heard of a tuxedo, except a cat.
I have a suit. I have one suit. I wore it once so far at an awards conference. We can. Right. I've got a vague notion.
Yeah. But I would say, listen, I'm going to be spending an evening doing this. At least I want to be comfortable. I'm going to be on my feet the entire time. So I would wear running shoes to it, and people got to know that I just always wore running shoes. And when you go to conventions, you're spending a lot of time on your feet. Why wear, black Florsheim shoes or Bata shoes, we should at Trent, when you can wear something really, really comfortable, like running shoes? So they knew that I loved running shoes. So when I was installed as Chancellor, Julie Davis surprised me right at the beginning of the procession that she had 8 pairs of green running shoes, which I will hold up to the camera here.
I think I saw that photo. There's a photo of it online, I believe, that I think we could also include.
That could be. And she got green running shoes for everybody in the procession who was involved in my installation as Chancellor. And so it's carried on, and now you can buy the shoes in the bookstore. And it's a way of, if you ever see someone in green running shoes, I encourage you to go up and say hi and hug them, because they probably came from Trent University.
I also did notice, I believe, when I was doing some research for this interview, the most recent photo of you that pops up when you Google you is from the Walk of Fame, I believe. And you are wearing running shoes. You're wearing like the tuxedo. And like I look down and you're wearing like like tennis shoes or
Here's a special thing that we do at Trent. Of course, I've got the green running shoes on today because I'm in Peterborough. But in the Durham campus, blue is the color, so I wear blue running shoes. But if I'm at an affair that is both Durham and Peterborough, I wear green on one side and blue on the other. And there's a mnemonic that I could tell you that is so nerdy that I will tell you.
Please.
That when you wear green, which shoe gets the green, or which leg gets the green, which leg gets the blue. And it's very simple. Green has 5 letters and right has 5 letters. Blue has 4 letters and left has 4 letters. So you put green on the right, blue on the left. And I was doing this at a small dinner. It was kind of a fundraising dinner for Trent, and Sonia Bata was there of the Batas. And she came up to me and said, I'm really impressed with your shoes. And there's only one other person in the world I've ever met who intentionally wore mismatched shoes, and that was my father, Tom Bata, of course, of the Bata Library. And he, ran the Bata Shoe Company, and he actually every day would intentionally go out, and he had his pick of any shoes whatsoever, but he would wear one type of shoe on his right foot and another type of shoe on his left foot. Tom and I. Yeah,
I was going to say, I thought the Bata were shoemakers.
Yes.
We were talking about this a little bit before we began. But now that you're no longer a chancellor, what will you be doing with all of your free time, with so much free time?
One thing I'm going to be doing is launching a brand new EP of songs, because music really has been in my life all the way along. I mean, from the early days that I had with the Beatles, with, George Harrison, of course, and the naming of Arthur, which is all tied in together. But all the way through my life, it's been music. And I get the chance to do it now. And thanks to artificial intelligence, I can actually use programs to create sounds that I just never would have been able to create over the years. So that's my personal project. And the other is, I'm on a number of boards, and I won't sort of list all those, but there's one that also involves music, and that is a large project in Toronto celebrating the music that has come out of, or has, in some ways, been created by or amplified by Toronto. And it will be a large music museum which celebrates the diversity of music and all the ways that Toronto has actually changed the world through music.
Yeah. And I think that is it for our serious questions. So now I think we have to go to our fan-submitted questions.
Round.
Yeah, it's the lightning round. And these come partially from fans, partially from, the ether, the void, the whispers. How will you satiate your appetite for handing out degrees? Have you thought about starting a paper route?
Yeah, it's all social, Did you ever paper route as a kid?
No, I grew up on a farm.
Yeah. I did have a paper route. And in the snow and in the winter, it's hard. It's tough going around on a bicycle in the snow and handing out the paper. Of course, I don't think that happens anymore today, thanks to online.
Yeah.
But being social is going to be even more important as AI comes out. What we were always seeing was social media, and we're seeing young people feeling more isolated. A university is a great place to, be social, and I don't mean in the party sense. I mean just interacting with people, making mistakes with people, making friends, making enemies, making up, breaking up. It's all part of the human experience, and so whatever I do will involve people.
Do you get to keep the Chancellor's outfit?
The Chancellor's outfit will stay here, and so if I ever come back, which I will, probably at least once a year, if not more often, and take part in the convocation ceremony, I will wear my Chancellor regalia.
So,
and by the way, I've told you what I'm doing right after this interview.
You did, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm in my Chancellor regalia with my shoes and engaging in the scarving ceremony of the baby chicks at Zosky College. Probably one of the most important duties of a chancellor is to have these little scarves that the students have made and place them on the chicks and welcome them with a nunc cognosco ex parte.
That is absolutely lovely. If you have any photos of that or anything afterwards,
well,
we'd love to get them.
I think it's going to be live streamed.
It's
so important that people around the world want to see this ceremony.
We may have to log on and get a couple screenshots of that or something. Now I've got a question for you from your Instagram. Valentine's Day, you posted a picture of your feet instead of your spouse that you've been with for over 30 years. Would you like to address that?
We always spend, for 30 years, Linda has never wanted to celebrate her birthday, which is not on Valentine's Day, it's on February the 4th. She's the 12th, Valentine's Day is the 14th. So we always go someplace warm. And it's just the two of us. And way back in the days, I mean, I'm 78 now, she's 78, but when she was 50, up until she was 50, I would give her that number of red roses so I'd give her 48 red roses on her 48th birthday, 50 on it. At 50, we decided no, it was getting too much. But we've always gone someplace warm. And she loves lying in the sun. I love lying in the shade. So I just got used to each year putting my feet up by the seaside. Linda's over here in the sun, and I'm just sitting there with a picture of my feet lying up in the shade.
Yeah. So, in a sense, your feet represent your love for your spouse.
I am glad you put it that way.
You live on a farm? ?
Well, farm ? Is right.
Right.
It's 100 acres, but we don't have any animals, like there's no horses or things. And we do rent out about 30 of the acres to a local farmer who has agreed to do just hay farming because it doesn't involve chemicals. I say that as though I know what I'm talking about, but I gather if there are any chemicals, they're very sort of soft chemicals because we don't want to use those. And it's not that far. It's under an hour just traveling cross country from the university. And we've been there for 15 years. Love it. But we got a condo in Toronto as well. So we go back and forth between the two places.
Interesting. What led you to want to live on a farm?
Absolutely nothing. We were at a retreat. There's a place called St. Anne's Spa where you can go for the weekend or whatever. And we were there. And we were saying, oh, well, this is out in the country. It's sort of near Coburg. But it's got nice rolling hills, and there's some water around, and this is very pleasant. I wonder if they've got any like timeshares or something like that, because we could come out from Toronto, and just for the weekend. And somebody overheard us and said, "Oh no, they're not doing any timeshares, but Nancy's place is for sale." And 2 weeks later, we owned a farm.
Wow. And this comes from, sorry, hold on. This person has a pseudonym. They specifically provided it to me, but we forgot to write it down. This question comes from Ebony Dementia Raven, whatever that means. And
Ebony Dementia?
Raven, yeah.
Raven, okay, yeah. I like it.
I think if you say it a couple times, some sort of creature appears. I don't know.
That's right. Well, certainly Ebony and Raven are black. Dementia is, I guess, a kind of a blackout. It's got a black theme to it.
Yeah. Have you ever gotten the Arthur haircut as a sign of loyalty to the masthead?
Well, don't I sort of look like George Harrison even as we speak? I mean, you have a certain George Harrison-esque quality to you, but my hair does come over my, and when I was in grade 13, which is so long ago, you wouldn't even know what grade 13 is maybe, but it obviously comes after grade 12 and used to exist. I had a wig that was a George Harrison kind of wig, and I wore it to school. I went to a private school, and people thought you had to wear, tie, jacket, and things. But I wore a wig that was a Beatle, George Harrison wig.
What led to you buying that wig?
It was probably teenage anxiety that I just wanted to be something different than what I was.
Did it ease your anxiety? Did it comfort you?
Well, it gave me some attention, and at the the closing. In the auditorium, we had a closing kind of performance, and we went up with our band on stage and sang, which at the time was kind of out there. Can't get no satisfaction by the, and of course I was in my wig. So. Ian, you have to control yourself in these interviews. Have you ever seen the Jiminy Glick interviews?
I have not.
No. Type in Jiminy
Yeah.
Glick. It is, what's his name? The comedian who's very well known. He's Canadian. Anyway, he gets up in this big suit, and he conducts the interviews are absolutely hilarious. So type in YouTube
I'll have to,
Jiminy Glick.
I don't. It just really took me off guard. It was just all the factors coming together.
Right,
yeah,
that's right.
And one final question. In your youth, you had the honor of working with John Candy on a film called The Clown Murders. How did you ever interact with John Candy professionally again?
Not professionally. I would see him after that time. But The Clown Murders is making a return. The Clown Murders, we produced it in 1976, so I was like 23 years old. We had no business producing a film, but why not? It's sort of like, okay, let's just see what happens. And John Candy, it was his very first film, so we hired him for scale. And when I did see him, after that time, I'd say, because I wasn't sure he'd necessarily remember me, like 5 years later. So, hi, I'm Stephen. Oh, I know who you are. Yeah. I've never worked for scale ever again. that has scarred me forever. Yeah. That's right. It was a horror film, not meant to be a comedy. It had its comedic moments. And then basically, I like to think of it as one of the worst films in Canadian history, if not in the history of the world.
I do believe it has a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes or something.
And that's really pushing it. that was me trying to goose it out there. But 2 years ago, on Jimmy Fallon, Quentin Tarantino, they did a thing with him where they put him in a blindfold and read him some outlines of early horror films because he's a horror film aficionado. And the final one that they read was, a group of, as a joke, they, kidnapped this young socialite and things like that. And he's going, oh my God, yes, I do remember that. It was something, there were clowns in it. And I think, and he was going on, John Candy was in it. The Clown Murders. And it got a lot of laughs, but he'd known it because he's such an aficionado of horror films. We've been contacted by a distributor in the States. They have recreated the negative from a print using artificial intelligence. It's now this beautiful 4K print, and it will be released. Actually, I will still be Chancellor when it's being released. We should have a screening. Arthur should sponsor a screening of The Clown Murders.
Yeah.
It will be its 50th year anniversary, the worst film in Canadian history. Yeah. I will buy the popcorn, and I'll buy beer for anybody who can last at least 10 minutes through the film.
We'll have to speak with Sadler House or take cover books about a screening.
Yeah.
That does sound awesome. And we, the full question was, in your youth, you had the opportunity to work with John Candy, and you produced The Clown Murders. How does it feel to have wasted such a great talent?
That's right. I think I've answered that.
Yeah. Stephen, thank you so much for coming on, and I'm sure we'll see you in the future.
Indeed.
And I hope you have a good time. What was the term we came up with? When a chance.
Yes, it's not decapitating.
No, yeah, when you become deinstalled. I hope you have a good deinstallment ceremony.
Yes, that will be fun.
Yeah. All right, thank you so much.